Hello, manga and anime lovers. I'm Branch, and today I'm going to be talking about episode 2 of Irina, the Vampire Cosmonaut. This was actually a pretty good episode. I say that with the least amount of enthusiasm in my voice. But no, this was really a good episode, and I think it was even better than the first. I really liked getting to learn more about the characters, and of course the themes, not the story themes, but the visual themes and the world building and the world themes. They just keep getting stronger, and I really like it all. I have some notes this time to help keep my thoughts on track. So I want to start by talking about the training montages. This whole episode was pretty much a giant training montage. They started off with the track endurance training, and then from the endurance training, they went on to, I think, the physical examination, followed by the lunch scene in the cafeteria, and then the centrifugal force and heat training, ending with the parachute stuff. Not a lot happened when I say it that way, but a lot happened in this episode. It felt like it went by really fast. And it really impressed me, I gotta say, especially compared to the first episode. Even though I liked the first episode, the animation was a little bit wonky, as well as the art here and there. And those problems were visible in this episode too, but not as much. And the camera work especially, oh my goodness, I gotta talk about that. I guess I'll go through it one by one, because the competitive sprint scene at the beginning was pretty funny. I really like how all these training bits go to show Irina's determination, which is really important, and I'll talk about that at the end. But it also shows Lev's, how would you call it? His ability to just go along with the flow and empathize with people and match their pace, I guess you could say, literally in the case of the sprint scene. And then after the sprint scene, the next training scene, I believe, aside from the physical examination, which I don't really care about, there was a bit of a funny joke there, but aside from that, it was whatever. The scene in the I want to say museum almost, because it reminds me of a museum, but really what would you call it, the training lab, where they had the heat training, the centrifugal training. Oh my goodness, that was so good. I just love the art style. It just reminds me of going into a museum and seeing all the cool stuff where they talk about these old scientific inventions. And I don't know if these inventions existed in the real world that we saw in this episode, these training machines. I want to lean toward probably not, because they seemed really dangerous, but then again, you never know. I thought it was really interesting, especially the heat and training scene really showed the perception of vampires by other people, especially the one instructor, or I don't think he was an instructor, but the higher up there. He was almost comically so, prejudiced toward vampires. It wasn't so overdone that it was unbelievable. It was actually really believable, like something you would see in the real world. Not against vampires, obviously, but it was a bit of a parallel. And just seeing Irina's determination despite all this prejudice and him actually seriously hurting her by tightening the straps too much on the machine, on the centrifugal force machine, that made a bit of an impact. Especially, oh, of course, how could I forget the muzzle? That was very sad. I don't know how to put it, but it was just disheartening. Especially that this guy thought she needed that to stay in line, even though she was super determined to go through with this. You can see by her actions that she's not going against her will, and she wants to do this, so there's really no reason to put all this get up on her. It was very sad, but also her reaction to it, she just doesn't seem to care. She probably cares a little bit, but outwards she doesn't care at all, so it just made it kind of funny, because the guy, he has this super prejudiced view of vampires, but she's not giving him the satisfaction of reacting to any of his attempts at, I guess, literally racism. Let's see what else I have. I'm going to skip over the cafeteria scene to talk about that later and just go straight to the parachute scene. Because I think, just like the laboratory scene earlier, previously in the episode, the parachute scene was really good in that it highlighted not only the mechanics of how these, I want to say astronauts, but they don't go really into space too much, so probably cosmonauts. Either way, how they have to land without actually landing. They have to be ejected from this spacecraft. It is pretty scary, and I can understand why Irina is so scared, even though she seems to have a particular fear of heights, which again brings up her determination. Everything in this episode showed how much she shouldn't be flying. A lot of people are against her. She's not treated as a person, and she hates heights, and yet she's so determined to go through this training and make it to space. It makes me really think that there must be a promise or some sort of intrinsic goal, something that she wants to accomplish for her or on behalf of somebody else, because this kind of drive doesn't just come from nowhere. I'm curious to know what that is, but I'll put that aside for now since the show doesn't really give many hints toward it this early on. Alright, so now to go back to the cafeteria scene. The basis of it was we basically got to learn a whole lot about vampires. We knew a little bit from the last episode, but the most surprising thing that we learned was that these kinds of vampires, while they do suck blood, it's actually considered kind of barbaric, especially against humans, which makes sense. If you're not like a ghoul, if you're an actual species, then you don't want to suck blood from another species that looks just like you. That's like verging on cannibalism. I wonder if this is a flag for her doing this some point in the future, under I'm not sure what kind of circumstances, good or bad, that could come up. Well, one thing that makes me curious is that they showed this huge village of vampires when they showed her flashback to the goat biting scene, and yet these vampires are never mentioned, and it seems like she's the only one, or one of the only ones in the area or left in existence, so it makes me think there's some tragedy to deal with that maybe is connected to her wanting to fly. And another thing is, I'm not sure how long ago this flashback was, because I'm not sure how long vampires live. Do they have the same human lifespan? I would think so, since they're basically human in most other aspects. I'm just curious as to, because if they live longer like some other vampires do, then this flashback, it might explain that they went extinct over a long period of time. But if not, then there has to have been some massacre. Especially since Irina mentions that the humans blamed the plague on the vampires. So this might be I don't want to say the word in case YouTube flags it, but the World War II event against the Jews, that this might be something similar happening there, and that's why there aren't very many vampires left. Because despite all the prejudice shown toward vampires in this episode, I think Lev and to a certain extent Anya offset this, and especially the chief at the end, although I can't read Anya or the chief's motivations yet. But Lev is clearly, just doesn't care. He's curious, but he doesn't care that she's a vampire. He doesn't really seem to care. That doesn't mean that he doesn't like emotionally care, but it doesn't matter to him who the other person is. He just cares about them, and especially about his goal to go to space and their goal to go to space and to work on this project. In fact, he cares so little about the position of someone else that apparently he hit a superior, which is why he was demoted before the first episode began. So that's interesting. There are a couple people I could think he might have hit, but something tells me that it was someone else entirely. That someone might come back as an antagonist. There was a little hint of an antagonist at the end of the episode. I'm not sure who that is. So I guess that's basically all I wanted to talk about. Oh, I forgot the soda bits. That was a very nice bit. Seeing the soda machine. You don't understand the amount of joy that scene of him getting soda out of a machine gave me. I was never around to see anything similar, but just the aesthetic of it all, I really like how it looks. And I like the washing of the glass, and then it fills it with seltzer water, and then they take a sip. I don't know how this guy chugged all that soda at once. I can only take a couple of sips before I have to take a break because it's so fizzy. And Irina got a bit of I guess you want to say pranked by Lev by goading her into drinking it all at once. I really like that. Just a lot of character building this episode. Really good. Now for the technical aspects of the episode, I mentioned the art. The art was pretty good. There were some parts where it wasn't, but the animation was so good overall. There was a couple bits here and there. It was like, but it was really fluid. Well, maybe fluid isn't the right word, but it was really animated for lack of a better term. Everyone was moving all the time. There were hardly any still shots. It just felt like almost like a real life show that was just animated, the way people were moving. I really liked it. The art needs no, I've been gushing about it enough. I don't need to say any more on it. It's so good. Or should I say style. And let's see what else. Oh, the cameraman. This camera reached levels almost to Hyoka or the Monogatari series. It was so good throughout some parts of the episode, especially during the dinner scene where it just kept bouncing around all over the place. And then it would slow down, and I noticed the jug separating Lev and Irina at the table for a little symbolism. I haven't written anything premeditated on that, so I can't talk about it more, but I noticed that kind of stuff. Oh, of course, the music, it's always good. Although it doesn't super stand out, but it does fit the theme, and I just really like music that can fit the theme and slide into the background like that. So good. The opening, I really like the opening a lot more than I did last time. I'm not sure what changed. I haven't heard it more than twice at this point. So, I don't know. The visuals were really good. I guess I just didn't notice them last time, but they're really good and they seem to have a lot of symbolism that I can't quite tell yet because I haven't watched too much of the series. But I can probably see that at the end of the series, if I look back, I'll notice a bunch of things. And the song was really good too. I can't really remember it, but I remember nodding my head to it and, bopping a little bit when I was watching it. The ending song, I think I liked it less than I did the first time I heard it. It's still good. The visuals are really nice, especially I noticed Irina moving her head, looking back and forth to Lev. So that might symbolize their relationship throughout the series, how she slowly warms up to him. Like she has to. You can't not warm up to this guy. This guy is like the one person that everyone knows who's super friendly, and everyone warms up to him. But yeah, overall, a stellar episode with really good visuals, great pacing, fantastic world building, and fun character dynamics. I really liked it, and I'm really excited to watch more. In fact, I'm probably going to watch one right after I upload this video. Alright, so that's it for now. Bye.